The One Sustainability Science Project this semester is up next. They've been working with the City of New York Department of Small Business Services, and the advisors are Gerry Paul and Stephen Chillrud.
So hi everyone, my name is Sharona Sengupta and I'm representing the semester Sustainability Science cohort and our project under the tracks. So our client is the New York City Department of Small Business Services, and they work to create economic opportunity, job opportunities, and thriving neighborhoods across New York City. And their objective for this project was to determine the effects of the elevated subway tracks on environmental variables and whether they show correlations to business performance and corridor perceptions in Jackson Heights, Queens. So this is a quote that we got from one of the workers in Jackson Heights, and it really sums up why this neighborhood is so unique. And so people come here to speak their own language and eat the food from their cultures, and it's really just a home away from home. So to understand how Jackson Heights is doing, we looked at corridor health. So these are the set of economic and physical characteristics that reflect a corridor's vitality, stability, environmental health, and overall attractiveness to businesses and shoppers. So how can we define corridor health, and what are the variables that we can use to tie this back to the effects of the train? So we started off with measurements that we could make ourselves. So that included noise, foot traffic, light, and PM 2.5, which is the air pollution that is fine enough to seep into the lungs. And then we did online research on sales price, rent, property value, and vacancy. And then we validated all of this data we were getting by doing business surveys to understand the business owner's perceptions of corridor health. And so these constitute our primary variables, or the direct fingerprints of the train. So from these, we got some secondary insights, including crime and cleanliness, and these are the indirect effects of the train. And so altogether, this makes up corridor health. And so looking at all of this helped us make policy recommendations and design intervention suggestions for our client. So this is our study area, and we used a very classic scientific structure for this project. So the area in green is Roosevelt Avenue, and this is our experimental site because it sits directly under the train tracks. And the area in yellow is 37th Avenue, and this is our control site because it's a similar corridor but doesn't have the same transit infrastructure. And so both of these can be defined as commercial corridors, which are a 16-block area with a diverse distribution of businesses that contribute to the cultural and economic identity of this neighborhood. So in terms of the different monitoring we did mobile monitoring, in which we walked the perimeter of these two corridors with environmental sensors, and we also did stationary monitoring at those red dots that you see, where we put up environmental sensors on a 24/7-hour basis. So our environmental data collection shows that Roosevelt Avenue is noisier, darker, and more polluted than 37th Avenue. So to break this down, noise was one of the really big variables, because if you're in Roosevelt Avenue, it's overall going to be a louder experience than 37th Avenue. So if you look at those mean values, there's a difference of about 11 decibels, and that represents a doubling of loudness. And almost 50% of the values that we were getting on Roosevelt are above the EPA and NIOSH healthy limit guidelines. And some of the higher values that we were getting were mostly from the train tracks and are also about as loud as a jackhammer, so there were some really loud sounds. So moving on to brightness, or light pollution. So the yellow clusters that you see on 37th Avenue represent that the light intensity was just a lot more, and so Roosevelt Avenue is half as bright during the day, and this is to be expected because the tracks are covering the corridor, but we did also see similar trends in the nighttime. So in terms of air pollution, Roosevelt Avenue is twice as polluted, and the PM 2.5 hotspots that we found often corresponded to street food vendor locations and didn't correspond to the train passing by overhead. So from all of this, we know that Roosevelt Avenue is environmentally stressed, but our online research revealed that it's economically very vibrant. So if you look at the vacancy rates, they're both quite stable, and they're lower than the average rates in New York as well as in Queens. But then if you look at the average assessed property value, it's higher on Roosevelt Avenue, but then, on 37th Avenue. But then rent price and sales price is higher on Roosevelt Avenue. So what this tells us is that if you are an investor and you want to invest in a business in one of these two corridors, you're going to get more aggressive returns on Roosevelt Avenue due to market demands. So we also wanted to see what businesses thought. And the story that we got from them was also very similar, which is that Roosevelt Avenue is busy and very vibrant, but it's not all positive. So on a 10-point scale, we found that for most of the factors, Roosevelt Avenue ranked much lower. So overall support and safety and security ranked low. The one bright spot was foot traffic. And also we looked into food vendors, so street food vendors. So they have a really great contribution to the cultural vibrancy as well as the profits on this corridor. However, they do increase congestion as well as increase litter, which is why cleanliness and ease of access ranked lower. But despite all of this, 66% of businesses we surveyed chose their location based on proximity to the subway. So this tells us that they are aware of the pros and cons. But they might not be as aware of the additional burden that they're facing by being there due to the increased levels of noise and PM 2.5. So to make this more tangible, we wanted to put them into some more financial terms. And so we created this relative risk increase model, which uses those two variables, noise and PM 2.5, to find the increased risk for disease on Roosevelt Avenue compared to our control 37th Avenue. So if you look at the darker blues, that's showing PM 2.5, and you can see that regardless of the amount of time you're spending on these two corridors, you're being affected about the same. But then if you look at the two noise-related diseases, it's significantly increasing if you're both working and residing there compared to only working there. And so for the costs on the right-hand side, $170,000 represents the amount businesses are losing by people who are not showing up to work. $26,000 is showing people who are showing up but are not being as productive. And the overall cost to businesses is around $200,000, and noise makes up about 93% of this burden. So now that we've quantified disease risk, we also wanted to quantify corridor health. And so to do this, we set up a corridor health index. And so what this does is whichever one of these two corridors is doing better on any of these four factors gets a score of 100. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it's perfect. It just means that it's better than the other. So 37th Avenue, our control, ranks better in terms of reputation, environmental factors, as well as safety. And Roosevelt Avenue ranks better for economic vitality. But in the final scores, Roosevelt Avenue is lower than 37th, and that shows you that no matter how well it's doing economically, all these other categories are pulling down that final score by a lot. And so because of that, we focus on policy recommendations that are specifically tied to those first three categories to see how all these mom and pop shops in Jackson Heights can improve the conditions which they work in. So the three main categories or suggestions that we have for our client is that they work closely with the MTA, and second is create subsidies and grant opportunities for these businesses, as well as tax incentives to incentivize businesses who are able to keep their indoor environmental conditions lower than some key thresholds. So here are some noise policy recommendations that are tied to the MTA. So these suggestions have been approved globally as well as in other parts of New York City. So they include rail fasteners, ring-dampened wheels, more frequent rail grinding, and implementing noise barriers to reduce decibel levels. Then some more DIY measures for businesses include acoustic window inserts, vibration pads, and acoustic caulk. Then in terms of light, we recommend that areas under the elevated tracks can be retrofitted with LED lighting, as well as smart monitoring systems to increase visibility and reduce crime. And some of those areas that were identified to have the most crime can benefit from blue light emergency towers. Then for cleanliness, the amount of trash cans on Roosevelt is a little lacking at the moment, so that can be increased, as well as solid-sided trash cans to avoid any waste seeping out. And more frequent trash collection, as well as expanded drip trays under the elevated tracks can also help. And we recommend that our client promote discussions between street vendors and businesses, specifically through the Business Improvement District, to create more equitable cost sharing for cleanup in general. So for air pollution, IFD filters and HEPA filters can be installed indoors, and food vendors can consider installing battery-powered storage instead of gas generators to reduce both air pollution and noise pollution outside. So In conclusion, through our interventions, we can holistically improve corridor health by directly addressing the concerns that matter most to constituents, like safety and cleanliness, while also targeting environmental impacts that are often overlooked. And by doing both, we can raise awareness of these hidden environmental effects and help corridor constituents feel safer overall. So I'd like to give a big thank you to our client SBS who is here today, as well as our advisors, Steve and Gerry, for guiding us through this project, as well as our team leaders, Colby and Candy, for keeping us moving forward and being so organized. And a big thank you to my team who have worked countless hours on this, as well as to all the businesses in Jackson Heights and the nonprofits we spoke to, and especially the ones who let us have stationary monitors up for a couple weeks. So thank you so much for listening to our presentation.
Yes, so we were the client. But the one question I do have is that it was very interesting that Roosevelt Avenue does have a greater economic, benefit than 37th Street. Was there any sort of survey or discussion with the shoppers, the consumers, and just showing them like the health conditions that they are being exposed to, and whether or not it deters them from shopping along Roosevelt Avenue versus 37th Street?
So we conducted surveys for business owners specifically and didn't have the opportunity to interview customers. But we did generally notice that there was a much higher density of customers along stores in Roosevelt Avenue. And as you know, a lot of the storefronts on both Roosevelt and 37th have very similar functions, but we found the ones on Roosevelt to have many more customers. I think it would be a really interesting next step to also do customer surveys. But yeah, we didn't unfortunately do that this time.
Thank you for the presentation. I did see it last week, so I'm a little bit of a plant. But no, I'm really interested in the question of whether the things that you studied are most powerful seen together at the specific location or seen as a set of separate issues that, part of the advocacy could be to take them to city level. For example, if food vendors are a source of PM 2.5 as well as noise pollution, why not advocate at a city that is trying to decarbonize for providing plug-in opportunities at street lamps, at subway stops, etc.? If noise pollution is a trigger for dementia, I live up the road at Morningside Gardens, and we have had decibel meters in our apartments, and they are at those jackhammer levels. Is there a way that you can imagine translating what you've done for this one place into a larger scope of insights for the city as a whole?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for your feedback last week. It was incredibly helpful. So I think this is one of the first studies that's been done of this type for elevated structures along New York City. And as you know, there are many in this area, like near the business school. So I think that a lot of the information that we gathered for Jackson Heights can be extrapolated for a lot of these other elevated trains. Now, the context in which we did this study was taken from how the train is attracting all these food vendors and all these other types of businesses. So that's kind of what we linked a lot of these analyses that we did too. But that does go to say that it could, like the same inferences could be made about Times Square, for example, which has a lot of different food trucks. So I think that, thankfully SBS does city level work. So I think a lot of these insights could definitely be extrapolated.
Hi, thank you for a great presentation. I was just wondering in general if you have any insights on how long it would take to implement these recommendations or what cost is associated to that.
Yes. So in terms of costs, we have more detailed guidelines in our report as well as here, but some of these methods are really, really easy. So like these DIY implementations, a business could decide to go ahead and do it today. And like acoustic caulk, it's so affordable, you can just get it at the store and put it under your windows. Then some of these, for example, for other countries like Singapore, these have been projects on longer scales. But I think the challenge here is getting for some of those like more DIY quicker solutions is getting the subsidies and the support for these mom and pop shops. Like I said, these are not big franchises, so that they can implement this and raising awareness about these solutions. So once that's there, a lot of these solutions are rather quick, but it's being able to get those subsidies and that awareness that I think is going to take a much longer amount of time.